Topo Athletic is committed to lifelong health and better movement. Topo builds running shoes for those who get out there every day regardless of weather, speed, energy, or mood. Their distinctive fit and feel combines instinctive human movement with modern performance and lightweight comfort to help you keep going, keep trying, and keep moving. Discover the Topo difference and step into a run experience unlike any other.
Welcome everybody to I just got the notification. Welcome everybody to the 97th Fireside Chats. Today we have a two-time Moab 240 finisher, an ultramarathoner, a software engineer, and a dad of 6, and just one of the coolest guys. And he's usually got a lot of dad jokes, maybe not so many today, but just excited to have a conversation with them. He was on our Fiery Embers chat back in October, and we've written how it all started about him. It was actually one of our most popular ones. It was last in the gym to ultramarathoner. So excited to dive into all of that. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it and welcome Casey Sanders. Casey, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing good. I do have one dad joke. I lied earlier.
All right, hit me with it.
Yeah. The largest muscle in the human body is the gluteus maximus. It's a big ass muscle. That's it.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good one. I got one for you. What do you call a concert featuring what concert costs 45 cents?
Ooh, what?
50 Cent feat Nickelback.
Oh, nice. That would be
not bashing on Nickelback. That's just a really funny one. That one always cracks me up.
Nice.
Oh man. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. I just closed my daily run in before this call, so I'm doing this run streak this year. So that's kind of a new thing in my life. 5 miles a day minimum run streak, which is, 5 miles a day doesn't sound hard, but then when you're like tapering for a race or trying to recover, it's a little harder. So that's new.
What race are you tapering for?
So last weekend, or I guess it's been 2 weekends ago, I did the Moab's Red Hot Ultra, the 50 miler. It's the 50 mile course is new this year. They've always had a 55K, so that was cool. See a new course. It was a hot day, actually. It was like in the 60s. It was supposed to be cloudy and overcast all day, but it was just clear skies and sunny and pretty warm all day. So it was beautiful. I love Moab. So
man, Moab is gorgeous, and I can't wait to dive into that part of everything. But man, I just have to ask you, like, doing a run streak of 5 miles a day, knowing that, like, we just talked about in the green room, Utah just got hit by a pretty wild storm, and it's still like winter over there in Salt Lake. So how has that been?
Well, so I decided to do it on January 1st. It was just like kind of the wild hair, just like, oh, you know what, I should just run 5 miles a day this year, just do every day. And I also happened to get COVID on January 1st, so the first 7 days of the run streak I had COVID, so they were very slow, arduous miles. And then, the winter here has been, it's been ups and downs. It's been like 20 degrees and a blizzard one day, and then the next day it's been like spring. So I'm okay with the weather. It's really like the sickness that's hard to kind of like plow through. And normally I taper for a race too, and this 50 miler I did, I normally would take a few days off before it and like do a super low mileage week leading into a race, but 5 miles a day every day leading into the race. The day after the race, I was kind of sore, and I was like, well, I better go knock my 5 miles out. So that's been new. But I feel like if I just do 5 miles a day for like a year, it'll become a new baseline, but we're not there yet. I'm like 65 days into it. And so still adapting, but it's getting easier. So
getting easier, which is just a funny relative term. I think it's just like for runners, before we kind of dive into Moab, since we were talking about it, I wanted to hit you with the icebreaker question that I think people watch 97 episodes of this are pretty familiar with at this point, but are you ready for our icebreaker?
Yeah.
Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Oh, dude. Anything on pizza, I'm game for. You had me at pizza. So, yeah, you throw some anchovies on there, I'll eat it.
Ooh.
Pineapple and anchovy pizza, sure. Yeah, let's do it, you know. I'll never turn down a pizza.
Oh, I see. That's the right answer. That's the answer right there to bring us back from the brink of this war of like pineapple versus no pineapple. Like, it's pizza, man. Like,
Yeah,
pizza. Like, okay, like we're not the Ninja Turtles or whatever, but like, you know, you do you. Like, I think probably the worst one I've seen is like boba pizza, but like pineapple, man, like sweet and savory. Come on, Jason.
No, I see the war, and I'm like, why can't we all just get along, man? Like, pineapple on pizza isn't that bad. It's pizza, you know. I've had like, so I don't know if any of you go to like Pizzeria Limone or if you've tried that, but they have like blackberry pizza. They got lemon slices on pizza. They got pear on pizza. Why not put some fruit on the pizza, you know?
Why not? I mean, you're going to put veggies on the pizza. Why not put fruit? We're kind of diving into, well, I mean, if I'm going to accept pineapple on my pizza, I can't really reject pears or blueberries.
Yeah, the lemon slices are surprisingly good too. I mean, you know, a little tart, but yeah, pizza, anything goes. I'm game for all of it.
Oh man, pizza after my 100-miler this weekend would be fantastic. I'll be coming up to your neck of the woods to do Antelope 100, man.
Yeah, dude, that race has a lot of sand.
Yeah, no stranger to it. I've done that one twice, the 55K and DNF the 64-miler. It was my first DNF ever back in 2022, so I'm excited to have fun out there.
I've DNF'd that race too. They gave me a 50-mile medal, but I put it on my wall of shame because I didn't actually finish my goal. So I was like, okay, yeah, I did 50 miles, but I was going for the 100. Man, what a beautiful race, though. You're gonna have such a good time. Is Waterhole still on?
No, they I guess it was because of that storm, but they changed the course, so we're not going to Waterholes this time.
I mean, even without that, it's so beautiful. It's such an amazing course. And Page is kind of a crazy town. I'd never been there before that race. And I was like, whoa, it's just on top of that mesa and like super beautiful though.
Yeah. Shout out to Navajo Nation and like just they're just like really warm and welcoming, and there's nothing like that prayer dance before the race. So I'm excited to just get out there and experience the whole thing. So I want to dive into, it was actually it was in our best of magazine. It was actually probably like 6th or 7th among, like, we tell a lot of stories, and it was like 6th or 7th among like our most popular stories on the website. It was called From Last in Gym Class to Ultra Marathoner. And so I want to like start with the title, man, and talk about that. Like, talk about being last in gym class and what that experience was like, and like reflecting on that and like being where you are now.
Well, I definitely was not an athletic kid growing up. Not athletic at all. Super scrawny. You know, didn't have the confidence, I don't think, or, you know, the guidance to ever get into sports or anything like that. And so I just like sucked at basketball. I sucked at sports. You know, I didn't really play them. I didn't believe I could. And I was legit last picked in gym class in junior high, which sucked, you know. But at the same time, it was kind of like, well, I'm not athletic, so whatever. But yeah, I worked at a place that was sort of fitness oriented as a software engineer, and they talked me into doing a Ragnar relay, and I did that. I was a pack-a-day smoker and, you know, probably, you know, 80 or 90 pounds overweight, but I did do that. And then I quit running for 10 years and was like, okay, that sucked. But yeah, then, you know, I was going through divorce and I started road cycling, and it just kind of clicked. I loved it. And I like doing Zwift, you know, with the cold winter here. I just like got my bike on a $20 Schwinn trainer from Walmart and got some cheap Wahoo sensors and started riding Zwift. And I just melted away like 90 pounds and was like, wow, I can do things. Like, who knew I could, ride a bike 100 miles a week or whatever. And then I ran a half marathon in there somewhere. And then I was kind of on the verge of a divorce at the time. And I told my ex-wife at the time, like, oh, I'm going to run a marathon. And it was like, you hate running. Why would you do that? And I didn't run the marathon. And so like shortly after the divorce and everything happened, I was like, well, if I'm not going to run a marathon, I should just go run this 50K. And so like a week before Arches Ultra, I emailed the race directors because the race was sold out and was like, hey, do you got any openings or anyone drop or anything? Can I squeeze in? And they squeezed me in, and I drove down to Moab to do the Arches Ultra, and I got the flu. And I woke up the race morning with like 103 fever and was like, dude, I am here. I'm going to do this thing. And so if you look at my finish line picture for my first race, I'm like pale and miserable looking. It took me like 7.5 hours or something, but I slogged through it, and then I just kind of got hooked. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it.
That is crazy. Like, it seems to be a recurring pattern here. Like, I'm going to start a run streak. I got COVID. Like, I'm going to do my first ultra. I got the flu. It's like the Jordan game, man.
Right. And I tend to be impulsive about things like, oh, let's go run this 50K with a week's notice. And, I'll just do this 5 mile a day run streak on the first. I decided to do it, so, but I feel like that's better. If I plan too far ahead, I get anxious and start psyching myself out.
Now, this is kind of a deeper question, kind of a loaded question, but like going back to like, I always have to ask this to people, especially me, myself being like, I used to be 80, 90 pounds overweight. I always have to ask people who have radically different past versions of themselves. Like, if you were to present who you are today to that past version and you were standing like face to face with each other, like what would you say to that past version? And like, what would that past version think about you now?
Oh, I think the past version would probably faint. I mean, it's not anywhere I saw myself being. I mean, I remember when I did that Ragnar relay, there was this guy I worked with who was like super into running, and he showed me this video. Did the thumbs up? Oh, he showed me this video of like this guy that was like living out of the back of a truck and like running 100-mile races. And I was like, that guy is a freak of nature. Like, those are like rare people. They don't exist. People like ultra runners. What is that? It just like blew my mind at the time. It was so outside of the realm of like possibility that was anything I was ever going to do. I think that past me would be pretty proud of who I've become though. Because my life has drastically changed. I was in this Facebook chat the other day. It's kind of a tangent, but sort of related. And I was talking about these 200-mile races that I've, attempted or finished. And some guy was like, man, you must have some demons and some like dark stuff. And whoa, like you must be effed up, man. And I was like, I guess. And I kind of sat and thought about that for like a day. It sort of stuck in my head. And I was like, I think when I got into this, I had some issues. I had some past, baggage that I worked through. There was the divorce and all that stuff that like running and endurance sports helped me work through it. But I think I've worked through all of that. And I think that like running is a tool that like people maybe with demons have, but it doesn't have to be a tool that people with demons have. It can also be a tool for growth. So I'm like, the last few years, I haven't had any demons or anything like that. My life's been good. It's been on track. I feel like a whole new person. And yet I'm still doing these things, but I'm doing them not from a place of like, oh, I need to go run away from something or I need to get in the pain cave and suffer. It's more like this helps me grow personally. And like, it helps me like feel better about myself and learn what I'm capable of. And so I'm like, no, I don't think you have to be like in a dark place and have demons to do these things. It's more like this is a tool for growth, like personal growth.
It's it is interesting how like there's this painted picture, and I think a lot of it might have to be with the wide spectrum of role models there are in like ultra running, like the faces of like Courtney Dauwalter, then you got like a David Goggins, and you've got like this spectrum of people, and I think there's just this culture around like doing these really hard things where there's this expectation that like what is he fighting? Like maybe you've heard this question about what are you running away from?
Mhm.
And I think that there are a lot of people who just genuinely use it as a tool for growth. And it is like you're doing a hard thing, you're overcoming a lot of highs and lows, and you're making yourself uncomfortable for that delayed gratification to like grow and become a better version of yourself. And I mean, I was genuinely the same way. I was coming from a place of like trying to like conquer my demons, and it's stuff that like you're always working through. But like, I think that my running comes from a place of like gratitude now more than it
Yeah.
ever did, gratitude and growth. And so it's
Good.
really cool to hear anybody like say that when like a lot of what you see on social media on the opposite end of the is like on that opposite end of the spectrum, like grind hard and like do the
Yeah.
hard thing and like
Carry the
be in the
log.
pain, carry the log, be in
Yeah.
the pain cave, you know?
Yeah, I think I
So
was running away from something, but now I'm like running towards something, and
yeah,
gratitude that I can do these things. It's like it's like now my body and mind are in a place where I'm like I'm capable of having adventures that I want to have, and that's my motivation. I'm not running from pain or anything like that. I'm like excited and grateful that I get to go out and experience the mountains and the deserts and do it all just under the power of my own 2 feet,
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I got
it's
to
good.
give a shout out to Ecopath Endurance, aka our good friend Helgi Olafsson. He gives a shout out to you, Casey, and has just been kind of listening in on our conversation. And yeah, Helgi knows what it's all about, man.
Yeah, I've only briefly met him. The dude's awesome though. I've been following him on Instagram for a long time. I think I met him at the end of the Moab race when he hooked me up with his chair. Right as I got into the finish line, I was like, "I'm gonna steal your chair, sorry." But yeah, I like what that guy's doing. He's got this cool capture the flag thing going on that I'd like
He
to try to figure
does.
out how to do. That looks
He's
fun.
on that account right now. He's on Ecopath Endurance. It's a really cool capture the flag concept he's got going on.
Yeah.
So we talked about miles in the desert on our own 2 feet. Now we really have to dive into the topic of the Moab 240 race that we both done in different years. 2022 for me, 19 and 23 for you. I was fortunate to be able to see your second finish at the Moab 240. So I want
You
to.
also were an aid station captain at Monticello Lake, so that was cool to see as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. I don't, man, I was so, I mean, I was so out of it in my own way. Like I was up for, I slept an hour, maybe in a 35-hour span. And it was like, people are right, man. Like volunteering is just one of the best ways to train for a 200. And like, I think I might have recalled seeing you come through, but it's all blur to me at this point.
Yeah, no, I believe it, man. And I think I came through in the middle of the night too. It was pretty late, and yeah, it was kind of a busy time. So I think I was just like, "Hey, do you have any apple cider?"
Oh, okay. I remember because I think I did bring you apple cider and I
Yeah.
think some kind of like food or something like a burger or something like that. I can't
Hmm.
remember,
Hmm.
but it had to be. See, I can remember something like that because I think you were the one and only person to ask for apple cider
Which is
at that
shocking to
race.
me, man. That hot apple cider, it was just hitting the spot.
It's
Yeah,
gotta, dude. Our aid station was by far like a lot of people were saying, like from what I heard from the guys at Shea, we were the coldest one out there.
yeah, I do remember it being pretty cold there. And at night, yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I think it was the race was a lot colder when I did in 2019. My water bladder froze in 2019,
Oh,
and that didn't happen this year. So I know it was colder then. Um, yeah, yeah. It's just, I mean, you've done it. It's a heck of a race.
I can't even imagine how cold it must have been in 19 because in 2022, I mean in 23 when I was like captain, like we had to salvage what the leftover like fuel for the fires from Shea Mountain. We were
Oh,
like, we're never going to have it in time. And then Shea was closing down, and they're like a 15-minute drive from us, which is crazy considering you have to do a 12-mile section. But we were able to get enough fuel, and we were running pretty low on it. And like our propane was starting to like, there were icicles on the bottom of our propane.
no kidding.
It was insane.
That's crazy.
Like the only way to stay warm was by the fire. But when we had a bunch of runners coming in, you know, we had to step away from the fire. And then the other way to stay warm was behind the stove.
Yeah. Well, that's a good place to be because you have the bacon smell wafting up on you the whole time. So that's nice.
Yeah, just the bacon and the burgers, man. So I got to ask you, like, I really want to dive into it, but I don't know the best way to dive into it. I think a good way to start is just by talking about, like, what were some noticeable differences between 19 and 23? One of the things you mentioned was that it was colder in 19.
Yeah, it was colder in 19. I think I was fortunate both years. The weather was pretty decent. I know in 2020 they had the snow course, I think it was, or 2021 maybe. So I've never been down there for a huge storm or anything, which is nice. I like when the weather's mild. But yeah, I'd say the biggest difference, well, there's two big differences. One was this year they added that new section in that additional aid station at Monticello Lake where you were. So I think the course, the first time I did it was slightly under 240 miles or something. And this time it was accurately 240 miles, maybe a little more because I went off the trail a couple miles in the LaSalle's. So yeah, it was definitely longer and more elevation gain in 23 when I did it. And I mean, my life was different between the two. And when I did the race in 2019, I wasn't remarried again. I was dating my wife, you know, at the time we were dating. And between then and 2023, I had a baby and got married. And so I was dealing with like having a toddler throughout my training. I'd kind of like, I don't know if you ever look at like the fitness and freshness graph on Strava or anything like that. It's like your training peaks score or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, my training score was good. And then I had a baby and then it dropped. And so like the 6 months of like newborn to like just 6-month-old, like I lost so much fitness and then, you know, started working on gaining it back. But it was kind of a struggle, the training for sure with the toddler.
Really good sleep deprivation training though.
You really do. Yeah, that's one point. And a lot of my training ended up being pushing a stroller. So that was nice too. But yeah, I think the biggest difference for me was just where I was in life. You know, the course was different, the weather pretty similar, but the course was different. And the second time I did the race, the first time I went out there, my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she was like my crew and she paced me for part of it. And so I had like someone to look forward to going to the aid stations. Like I knew she'd be at the aid stations that were crewed. And I knew that like I had a pacer lined up for some of the sections. But this year when I went down, it was like, I just drove down to Moab alone and stayed in a hotel and went and did the race and then drove back home alone. Like I didn't have a plan. You know, my plan was like, well, maybe I'll make some friends along the way, which I definitely did. But yeah, you know, I was just in different places at the different races. So that has a huge impact on what they're like for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Before we kind of dive into the specifics of life and everything, I have to ask you about two really big changes. One of them we did talk about was the course. The other one was that there was a 6 a.m. start originally, and now there's a noon start in 2023, which means that every single runner, if I'm not mistaken, had to go through, if you were in the back of the pack or mid pack, a fifth night on, and you were on Porcupine Rim on that last night. So yeah. What was it like having a noon start, which is very unconventional for an ultra, and then also having to go through an extra night in a 200?
You know, I thought the noon start was going to be really cool. I thought I'm going to get to sleep in. This is going to be great. And that's not what happened. Even if it's like a marathon, I tend to be like anxious before any race, and I get kind of like, the adrenaline gets going like the night before. And so I didn't sleep good before Moab, and I was up at like 5 a.m. And I was like, oh man, why don't we have like a 9 a.m. start? So I had all morning to kind of mess around and get breakfast, which was nice, but I really wish I'd had that extra sleep. So that was a drawback. It was also nice though, because I mean, the first time I did it, I think I got to, what is it called? The outpost or something like that. I don't know. The aid station that's right along the Colorado River.
Oh man. Man, I can't even remember, but I think I know the one is it early on?
Yeah, it's pretty early on. It's past Amasa back. It's the aid station past that. They got like the frisbee golf set up out there and all that weird stuff. And there's like there's an actual
house. Is it where the turtle is? Kobe.
No, tortoises, yeah.
Yeah, Kobe the tortoise. Yeah. Shout out to Kobe.
Dude,
Kobe Kobe wasn't there this year, according to Jazz. I think he was attending a wedding or something, which I would not have expected, but apparently, base camp. Yeah, Hobie says it's base camp. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I heard the rumor was that Kobe was at a wedding, and that tortoises actually travel like tons of miles. Like they can travel over 50 miles or something like that is what I heard. So Kobe was absent. Hopefully we'll get him this year.
Yeah, that aid station's cool. And it's crazy because it's like a house in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like a real house. They had like a regular bathroom there that they were letting us use. And like they got this cool little like bungalow thing outside where they're like cooking food. It's a pretty plush aid station. But the first time.
So you hit it like when the sun was setting at that point.
Well, yeah, the first time I did it, I hit it and it was like still the heat of the day, when I got there. But with the later start, I got there like well after dark. And so it was like cool. I mean, it definitely kept the runners out of the sun, which was nice. But I mean, there's only so much keeping you out of the sun you can really do. And I guess part of that is that it's really hard to drop from the Moab race during the first 70 miles or so because it's so remote, right? So I think they were just trying to like reduce the amount of people that drop out early in the race. I hope it worked. I don't know what the stats are, but I think it kept us out of the sun that first day, which was nice. And so I appreciated that. You also mentioned the last part of the race coming down Porcupine Rim. So the first year I finished it, I came down Porcupine Rim in like the afternoon, and you could see where you were going, which is fantastic. Doing it in the dark. So I was in the back of the pack. Like I finished with two other people, Amber Caudell and Doug Baldwin. We kind of crossed the finish line together, and there was one dude that finished behind us, and so we were like 15 minutes before the cutoff of the race. So, I mean, when you say back of the pack, we were like the back of the pack. We saw a DFL dude coming up behind us, and we were like, we better run so that we're not last. And, but yeah, like we came in like very early in the morning, right as it was like starting to be dawn. So we spent a lot of very early morning hours on Porcupine Rim, and that highway section with no shoulder, we were pretty zonked out on. I had to keep pulling Amber off the highway so she didn't get hit by a car. It was crazy. And yeah, that last little section of Porcupine Rim before you come down to the road is sketchy. There's like, you're on like cliff bands, and it's scary. I saw some people that were just kind of like frozen and like their pacer was like, I'm not letting you go on because the ground is moving and you're hallucinating and we're on like a 300-foot drop off or whatever. So I wasn't a huge fan of doing that in the dark. I mean, I didn't have like a pacer or anything, but we'd kind of like buddied up with some people, and this Doug guy had a pacer. Dustin, this guy, had come out to do the race, and he ended up pacing, and he was cool, man. He saved our butts because navigating those cliff bands in the dark was was rough, and we were pretty sleep deprived, and he just kind of like kept us going like a freight train, slow and steady through all of it. And yeah, I don't like doing that section in the dark. I'd say if I do this race again, I'll try to just go faster so that I hit that section during the daylight hours.
That section is a maze, man. Like, especially there's a good part of it where like you just absolutely don't know where you're going. And the markings are honestly like the markings are as good as they could possibly be on that thing. It's just that it's a slick rock rim, so it's like really hard to like get your bearings on that. With like even with the navigation, because and to add in that factor of like being zonked out and tired, it just makes it one of the most difficult parts of the course. And like I know Candace likes to joke it's all downhill, but it certainly does not feel that way.
No, and like you know there's like a point where you're going to drop into like a canyon and come down to the road, but you don't know exactly where it is. And like navigation on your watch and like the little flags kind of lead you in the right direction, but like I mean it's not like a scramble or anything like super technical, but when you haven't slept much for 5 days and you know you're like 230 miles deep into a race or something, you're like, oh, this like 8-foot, you know, slick rock down climb or something is treacherous looking. And so like finding the right ways to like navigate that rim, it feels a little scary at times for sure.
It is one of the best views I've ever seen in trail running, though, when you get that first glimpse of Six Shooter Peak out there. It's just a collage or like a mural almost. Like you can't even believe you're out there.
Crazy, man. And not just the Six Shooter Peak. The Six Shooter Peak section is actually one of my favorites. When you, I mean, it's like this spire, like a cathedral. It's incredible, but there's just so many different views out there that you're like, where am I? Like, how is this even real? I'm particularly fond of when you're up in the LaSalle's and you're looking out over Moab. You can see, like, if you're up there at night, you see like the lights of the city down there.
Oh, so that is Moab.
Yeah.
Oh
when you're in the LaSalle's, you can look down and see Moab from the mountains. It's crazy.
That's insane.
I mean, the LaSalle's, I mean, it's what I love about the race is that it's a desert race and a mountain race all in one. I mean, you're like up in elevation and the Aspens for part of it, and you're like in Dry Valley for part of it, where you're just like in this like horrible desert scene on a dirt road, you know, that never ends.
Oh my God, the marathon road, man! It just that is the place where you will find yourself because there's nothing out there.
Yeah, dude, you'll spend some time in your head in that section for sure, like just grinding.
Did you have any run-ins with cows in the LaSalle's?
You know, the cows didn't really bother me too much. They were pretty chill for me. I know some other people I talked to had some cow run-ins. When I was coming up to the Pole Canyon aid station, as you're like, you know, going into the LaSalle's, I kept seeing deer off into the bushes, you know, and I'd stop and like shine my headlamp into their lights. And I saw these sets of glowing eyes and I was like, oh, deer. And I like looked at them and it was 2 juvenile mountain lions. And they were just like hanging out looking at me. So that was extra special. I mean, you know, as soon as I pulled out my camera to try to take a picture, they ran off. So wasn't too scary or anything, but it was like really cool to see mountain lions up there. And I saw some other people. I think Scott, what's his name? Scott Jenkins. He had some video of mountain lion eyes following along, you know, stalking him in the section. I think mountain lions are super cool. They freak me out, but they're also super cool. So I was excited that I got to see that. Yeah, no cow problems, but I was excited that I saw mountain lions.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, full disclosure, like I never had like a problem with aggressive cows or anything, and neither did my friends. But like, the way some of them look at you, they kind of give you that face like, "What are you doing in my territory?" And like, the ones with the yellow tags and stuff just give you like this angry look. Just
Oh
like,
yeah, and they kind of will just stand in front of the and if you're on like a narrow section of trail, they don't want to move. You got to like hike
no.
around them sometimes.
Yep. Yep.
And their eyes glow red at night, dude. It's terrifying. Like,
What? No
their eyes,
way.
like you'll shine up your headlamp over or something, and you just see like glowing red eyes, and you're like, oh my god, that's a demon. But it's a cow. It's like, the LaSalle cows.
Oh man. So before we dive into the rapid fire section of this chat, I want to go back to the aspects of life. One of the things we talked about in the green room is that, and in your introduction, is that you're a software engineer. You're also a dad of 6, and you're not a paid athlete. You have your day-to-day responsibilities, and you train for these 200s and other ultras while maintaining 65 days in now a 5-mile a day run streak. So how do you like manage all those aspects of your life? And I use the word manage because we talked about balance not really being a thing.
Yeah. First of all, I don't really follow a super strict training regimen or plan. I try to have big weeks where I hit like 70 or 80 miles a week. And I usually have a goal of running like at least 40 miles a week. And how I get to those is variable. It depends on like what I can make happen. Like lunch hour at work. I work from home. I'm very fortunate that I work from home most of the time. And so like lunch hour from work, I go run 5 miles. I take my daughter to like her like circus class. She does like silks, aerial silks. So I'll take my daughter to aerial silks and I go run while she's in her class. If I take my car to Costco to get the tires rotated, I'm going to try to run 3 miles or something. I take my daughter on stroller rides, I'll throw my kid in the backpack and do a hike. Basically just like I'll take what I can get where I can get it. And if I can't get anything, then like I'll wait until the kids are all in bed and go running late at night. It's not structured. My training plan is not structured. It's just like I find the time when I can. I've run a five miler in jeans and a button-up shirt because I had the opportunity and didn't have the clothes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
neighbors probably think I'm crazy, but like I'll go out in the middle of the night and run if I have to. So yeah, like I get my training in just where I can. 2 of my kids are a lot older. I have a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old, and they're kind of don't require much, work, but I got to take kids to school, and I got a 3-year-old, and she requires copious amounts of time, and I got a full-time job, and I have a wife, and I have family obligations and like spending time with my family. So yeah, the balance is that like if there's a balance left over, I just run. That's what I do.
Love it, man. And what do your kids think about what you do?
I think that they probably thought I was pretty crazy when I first started doing this stuff. I don't know. They think it's kind of cool, maybe. I don't know. You know how like I often wonder if like they go to school and they're like, my dad ran 240 miles, and their friends are like, you're so full of crap. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder like that's made up for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I've had mixed reviews. My 19-year-old, she's like, you could just go do these things and not have it be a race. We could just go like on a backpacking trip. And I'm like, that's true, we could. And so I'm open to doing more of these like not, like actual planned events. But I will say that having aid stations every 15 to 20 miles where they cook you, cheeseburgers and make you a coffee and let you take a nap on a cot is pretty nice. It's
a very sweet deal. And one of the best parts about the experience, like, yeah, it's I had a friend who's done many of these really describe like these events as like through hikes with aid stations and sleep.
Yeah.
Or like through hikes without sleep, but with like aid stations and like checkpoints that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, fully supported through hikes. That's kind of
Yeah.
how I viewed it before too. And it's nice. The social aspect of it's nice. Like I said, I went out there this last year and I didn't have anyone with me, and I made some amazing friends that I would consider lifelong friends now. And when I did it in 2019, I made friends that I'm like, these guys are like my brothers. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not quite trauma bonding, but it's similar. You know what I mean? It's like you share these intense experiences with people, and it's hard not to become close friends with them, and so I think that's a really important aspect of it that is often overlooked. That like a lot of people go out and do like these ultra marathons, and they do them just like, I'm going to crush it and I'm in my own head and I'm doing my thing and like, don't talk to me. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, to each their own. But I'm like, I'm just out here to have an adventure, have a good time, see what I'm capable of. And I happen to make really good friends at these things a lot of the time. And I love that aspect of it. So there's definitely a social aspect to it if you want there to be.
100%, man. Like, I will say that every time I leave like that to like the 200-mile races or like leave that environment, there's a bit of sadness to it because I'm like, these are my people, and like I don't get to see them every day, and they're like all going to go back to their different corners of the states, and some of them they're corners of the world because people have come from around the world to do race like Moab and stuff. So it's like it is almost like a friend reunion when we do get back together at these races, and it's like, hey, how you been? I haven't seen you in like 8 months,
Yeah, there tends to be a pretty usual cast of characters at them, which is cool. So yeah, I could see the reunion aspect too. I mean, I really enjoy the experiences. At some point I'd like to do some through hikes as well, but I have all these kids and a job and responsibilities. So that's another aspect of it is like, I could go do a through hike, but I'd have to quit my job, figure out how to like put my life on hold. The Moab 240 or like the Tahoe 200 or something like that. I'm like, cool. I just need to get like 5 days off work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Figure that out, like,
and the rest is kind of all set up for you. So it's like, Joe, shout out to Joe Hart in Trail Tortoise Running. He says, I'm here to eat, snack, and make friends.
Yeah, right on, man. I feel that.
Right on the money. Shout out to Brian Pacenti, who's watching this live too. So we got a lot of people from the trail community and the 200-mile community watching this. So that's cool.
Nice.
So yeah, Casey, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. Before we let you go, are you ready for our rapid fire section?
Yeah, bring it on.
I'm going to be totally honest with you because Jason always pulls the same questions all the time. I literally went on GPT right now and I asked for food questions. I'm 97 episodes into this chat, man. I don't lie about anything anymore. Almost episode 100, man.
Yeah, you're getting the way.
Yeah, 2 years now. So here's the first one. When eating a burger, do you go for this? Stuffing your face as quickly as possible or savoring each delicious bite?
Depends on, like if I'm at the beginning of a race or the end, right? Post race, I'm just wolfing that thing down. If I'm like dinner with the family, I'll savor it.
I love it. I know that makes sense. I think I would be savoring it when I'm eating, but like probably stuffing it at a race, which might not be the best thing to do, but there we go. You're at an amusement park. What do you get? A giant turkey leg or a comically oversized lollipop?
Giant turkey leg, for sure.
These are absurd and I love them. You can only pick one food truck: an amazing grilled cheese truck or the truck serving sushi burritos.
Sushi burrito. Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like fun. So if it was pizza night and you had the choice of putting quirky toppings like s'mores or dill pickle, would you do that or just stack 2 regular pizzas on top of each other?
I'd probably just get adventurous, try the s'mores and dill pickle pizza. Why not?
Hey, I mean, you live near a place that gives blueberry pizza and pear pizza. I'm not really surprised.
Yeah.
You are a Ninja Turtle, my friend. I mean, I gotta admit, like the cartoons made those like pizzas look really good. So
I'm sure they were New York style. Yeah.
New York style. Yeah. Shout out to Jason and his New York style pizza. Time for a snack. Do you go for a whole bag of chips you inhale in one sitting, or a pint of ice cream you attack with a shovel?
I'm gonna go for a whole bag of chips. I'm partial to Doritos, unfortunately.
What kind of any specific kind of Doritos?
Just not classic nacho cheese Doritos.
Ooh, I love nacho cheese is good. How do you feel about the Cool Ranch flavor?
They're good. Here's what's really shameful that I do is I make nachos at home, but I use nacho cheese Doritos and I put a bunch of cheese and like refried beans and I'll make up a big batch of like ground elk and put that on it and jalapenos and salsa and sour cream. So I make like nachos, but I put it all on nacho cheese Doritos.
Honestly, like if the Doritos already have nacho cheese on them, it saves you a step and it kind of adds to it. And it's one of the most, like I've heard some like wild things in our, the traveling triathlete says, I like mixing the nacho cheese and Cool Ranch Doritos together.
Yeah, and they have like the duos, which are like two different flavors mixed as well that you can get. Like you can get.
Oh, they do? Oh, yeah. Man, where have I been with this? Man, that's awesome.
The Dorito aficionado.
Dude, I am going to like memorize that dish, and I might actually do nacho cheese Doritos or like Doritos nachos.
Doritos Locos nachos. Yeah, something
Doritos
like that.
Locos nachos. Yeah, I forgot that Taco Bell had the Locos tacos for a while.
They did.
So you stumble upon a vending machine in the forest. It's entirely stocked with. Would you rather it be stocked with granola bars or stocked with canned bread? The granola bar is Nature Valley.
Oh. I mean, canned bread. Let's try canned bread. Never been there before. Why not? I'm adventurous.
I've never had it before, dude. I don't think I ever will, but hey, if I have to, I do love my carbs. So
if you stumble across a vending machine with canned bread, wouldn't you be like, I guess it's a sign. There's a vending machine in the woods with canned bread. Let's try it.
That's true, especially if you were kind of in a do or die situation. Would be, man. But this is assuming that you have a can opener.
Yeah, you just smash it with a rock or something if you had to.
Or something like that, yeah. For breakfast, a stack of pancakes dripping with syrup or a massive breakfast burrito?
A massive breakfast burrito for sure.
What do you put on your breakfast burrito? And pico or no pico?
Pico is good. I like pico. I like bacon, eggs. I usually do like green chilies, like the canned chilies. So, I mean, I think of a breakfast burrito the same way I think of pizza. I'm like, what do we got? Like, let's throw every breakfasty item we have,
I love it. I feel like that's kind of your universal view on a lot of things. So, like, if I ask about the pineapple on burger, you'd be like, I assume your answer would be like, why not? Because it's a burger.
Burger, yeah. Peanut butter burger is also really good.
You're not the. Oh my, I can't remember who said it. You're not the first person who said, like, put peanut butter on a burger.
No, it's amazing. I've had a couple of good peanut butter burgers in my time. I've never had a bad peanut butter burger, I should say.
What makes a peanut butter burger so good?
I don't know.
Do you use crunchy or creamy?
I've had it with crunchy and creamy. I think there's two places near me that do peanut butter burgers. Lucky 13 does one that's kind of almost like a Thai style peanut butter burger. And then the other place is whiskey something. I don't know. It's like a bar, but they have a peanut butter burger that's crunchy peanut butter, and it's pretty amazing too. So.
Okay, so Doritos Locos Nachos and peanut butter burgers. So we got a couple things to try and share with our audience here.
Yes.
But yeah, this is making me hungry. So I think this is a good time to call the chat, man. But Casey, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. This was a fun conversation, and can't wait to see you at I think I'll see you at Tahoe 200.
Yeah, I'll
And
see you coming, man.
that'll be the next time, and it'll be fun to toe the line with you. And yeah, just appreciate you coming on the chat and taking the time to have this conversation out of your day.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great. Yeah, see you at Tahoe.
Yeah, and have a great rest of your evening, man.
You too.